to all of you. It's so great to see so many people here today. I'm going to talk about something that not too many people like to hear, but I'm going to talk about it anyway. Freedom is not free. A friend of mine told me this little story one time. It said they all stood around listening to a politician talking about how blessed we are to live in a land of freedom and how we can enjoy and be able to do anything that we want as long as we're not trying to hurt or kill someone. And as he spoke, suddenly a voice from the back of the crowd spoke out very loudly and said, "Tell them the truth. Tell them that freedom is not free." And then he turned and walked away. And they all watched him as he walked away, and it was obvious that he was a veteran. Down on his luck, and probably most likely forgotten. This was a story told to me by somebody who I very much respected, and it's not with me any longer, but I remember him quite well. I remember as a kid growing up how important it was that we said our pledge in the mornings. And we looked forward to doing that. There was no shame, there was no, I don't have to do it, or walk out the room while the rest of the people do it. And as a result, I came to love what America stood for, and proud of the fact that I was part of it. I was really proud when my church had invited some Africans to come over to do missionary work at the church. And what they told us, because we were excited, we were young kids, never seen Africans before other than what was on the Tarzan movies. And they did not have a habit of selecting the best looking ones to show on those movies. So we were excited. And when they came, we discovered, other than the fact that their skin was a lot darker, they were just like us. So we were excited. And we told them, we're just like you, we're Africans. So you can imagine my disillusionment when they informed me that, no, you're not. You are not like us. You are not Africans. Might be a mongrel, but you're not African. That hurt. Because at that time, and in case you're not aware of it, I'm up there. So I was around before the Civil Rights Movement. And we weren't exactly wanted by anybody else in the country. Well, sometime later, some Puerto Ricans moved not far from us, and again, we were excited because some of them were darker than we were. And we kind of talked about that, and one of the teenagers said, we're not like you, we're not black, we're not Africans, and we're not Negroes. And if you call us any of those, we have the right to sue you. So it's not a good feeling to find out that nobody wants to claim you. You're just kind of hanging out there. But that's okay, because I grabbed onto America even more and decided, you know what, I don't care. This is my country. I was born here, and I love her. So I don't care what anybody else said. I'm proud to be born in America, and I'm especially proud to be from Texas. Everything grows big in Texas, and I love to show off that I am from Texas. I'm talking about these things because you know what? I see that somewhere along the line, we seem to have lost that love for our country. It used to be strong. But it started, I think, with the Vietnam War when things started changing. And I can remember getting in arguments with people about that because I didn't care who sent them, but The fact that the soldiers were over there fighting, they were following what the president had told them. And I didn't understand why you want to hate the soldier. And I didn't understand why when they started coming home that people mistreated them. So you can imagine I got in lots of arguments, was not too popular, and even people in my family kind of looked at me strangely. But that's okay, because this is my country, and I love her. And I love the soldiers who are willing to go into the military, knowing that they could be called any moment to go out and sacrifice their lives. Because of that, I can sleep at night. I've heard all these things about the pledge and how we shouldn't do it. Well, I ran across the thing that Riz Skelton did. I'm going to go through it here for you so that in case you haven't heard it, you should. Riz Skelton said, I remember this one teacher. To me, he was the greatest teacher, a real sage of my time. He has such wisdom. We were all reciting the Pledge of Allegiance, and he walked over. Mr. Laswell was his name, and he said, I've been listening to you boys and girls recite the Pledge of Allegiance all this semester, and it seems as though it's becoming monotonous to you. If I may I recite and try to explain to you the meaning of each word. I, meaning me, an individual, a committee of one, pledge, dedicate all my worldly goods to give without self-pity. Allegiance, my love and my devotion. To the flag, our standard, oh glory, a symbol of freedom. Wherever she waves, there is respect. Because of your loyalty has given her a dignity that shouts freedom is everybody's job. Of the united, that means that we all come together. States, individual communities that have united into, at that time, 48 great states, 48 individual communities with pride and dignity and purpose, all divided with imaginary boundaries, yet united to a common purpose, and that is love for country. And to the Republic. Republic, a state in which sovereign power is invested in representatives chosen by the people to govern, and government is the people. And it is from the people to the leaders, not the leaders to the people. For which it stands, one nation. One nation meaning so blessed by God, indivisible, incapable of being divided, with liberty, which is freedom, the right of power to live one's own life without threats, fear, or some sort of retaliation. And justice, the principle or quality of dealing fairly with others, for all. For all, which means boys and girls, is as much your country as it is mine. And now, boys and girls, let us hear you recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I read that, and I was really very moved by it, because you know what? I think we should go back to having our kids do the Pledge of Allegiance. I think they need to know what it is to be an American. They need to understand that it's not just saying some words, that there is meaning behind that, and that we have freedoms that no one else has. We have people who are willing to stand up and put their lives on the line, so that when we sleep at night, we don't have to worry about bombs going off. And yet we tend to forget. I remember my sister one time telling me about all the negative things that she did not like about America. And I looked at her and I told her, I said, you know what, you're right. Those are all things that are negative, that don't work for us. But you know what? Here at least, you can do something about it. If you were living in another country, you couldn't do anything. You'd have to keep your mouth shut and accept whatever was handed to you. She didn't believe me until she got married, and her husband was in the military, and she was in another country and found she couldn't do the things that she wanted to do. So she came back home with a new perspective on what it is to be an American and to have the rights that we do. My generation made changes in this country. Some were for the good, but many were not. My children are not like myself. I remember one time when I hit my grandson, and it was with another woman, and we were talking, and she said, you know, I never expected to be raising my grandchild. This is supposed to be my time to do the things that I want to do. And I looked at her and I said, you know, you're right, and I sort of felt the same way. But you know what? I also look at it as another chance to maybe make the next generation after ours be better. Maybe we can help save the world that we destroyed. I don't think she agreed with me, but that was my opinion, what I felt. That the reason I was, some may say, stuck with raising my grandchild, I say giving me another chance to do a better job. I'm blessed because I've had 3 sons, 3 of which chose to go into the military. And I remember when I asked my first son, my firstborn, I said, why did you choose to go in the military? Because we never talked about it. I mean, it was something I always felt, but my husband didn't feel it. So I thought I would not push my views off on my boys and causing friction between them and their dad. And he told me he wanted to give back to the country that had given him so much. I didn't say anything else. There was no need to say anything else. So I'm very proud of my sons. Lately I've been hearing things where people are talking about changing the Constitution, changing how we vote for president. But let me tell you something about the Constitution. There may be some things in there that you don't like, but that's why we can do amendments, and we have to get it ratified with the states. At least 37 of them have to agree. But if you try to change the Constitution, if you want to rewrite the Constitution, I'll tell you right now what you're going to have. Nothing. Because you know how many nationalities we got in America? And you know how many of them want their rights? Can you imagine trying to get all of them together and coming up with something that makes sense? Now, I know some people think that, well, they're so long ago, they didn't know how the world was going to change. Well, that's true, but think about the Constitution. It works for all of us, no matter what color our skin, what nationality, ethnicity we are, it works for us. But if suddenly I get the opportunity to say, well, you know what? I think because I'm a black woman, you should put in there whatever that affects me. And somebody else comes along and says, well, wait a minute. But I'm of this nationality. I think we ought to have this in there. You end up with a complete mess. So I'm totally against messing with the Constitution. Leave it alone. If you need to amend something, let's talk about it. And let the people vote on how they want the amendment to go. We're losing freedoms, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know if you're aware of it. I watch things and I listen. And I see that people are so fearful that they're willing to let the NSA listen into everything that they do. I want to be protected too. But there's a procedure for doing things. You just can't go willy-nilly butting into people's business because you want to. You can't have the IRS deciding that because you're the wrong political group, that they should just run roughshod over you. Remember, the tables might change one day, and it could be the other way around. Same way with judges. Judges used to judge. A judge is not supposed to have feelings when he gets in the courtroom. I'm sorry. No feelings. You have a law. You judge based on that law. If you follow that, you have the right decisions coming down. But we've got people who have decided to put their emotions in things. You can't do that. Not in have a free country. Because you know what? One day maybe I'll be the judge. And maybe I'll decide that I don't like anything that's gone before. And I want it to be my way. You can't go around changing things because you want or you don't like how people voted. I'm concerned, and I hope that the rest of you are concerned. It doesn't matter what party you belong to. There are things happening that we need to speak up about. People are afraid to open their mouth now. I know people are upset about Sterling. I'm upset about the fact that he doesn't want to associate with me, but he doesn't mind me making money for him. But what he said was his own personal business. He has the right to say what he wants. But people are losing jobs and their businesses because others decide they don't like what someone has said or done. What has happened to us that we are willing to let things like that happen? We need to start speaking up because it's only going to get worse if you remain silent. Every time you allow something to happen and you don't say anything, what happens is that sooner or later it gets to something that you care about. And there's nobody to stand up for you. So we don't start opening our mouths now and saying enough is enough. It's only going to get worse. I want you to think about all these things. There's more I could share with you. But I don't have the time to go through all my laundry list of things that I have observed that are going wrong. But the next time you go to sleep at night, and you're preparing your kids, put them to sleep, you're getting in the bed yourself, I want you to think about that veteran who's out there who's been forgotten. Think about the veteran who goes to the hospital and people are putting them on secret lists so that they can wait till a more convenient time to see them. Think about the soldiers who are scattered all around the world and the fact that they put their lives in jeopardy just so you can sleep at night. Think about this. And the next time you see a soldier, or even if you say a prayer, say one for them and give them the proper respect that they deserve. Listen to Toastmaster.